a comprehensive look at trends, fund profiles, and more in Exploring ETFs.
Hi everyone, welcome to Exploring ETFs. I'm Neena Mishra, and today we are talking about cannabis ETFs. Now, these stocks and ETFs have rallied in the past few weeks, and that's mainly because of the rising possibility of a Biden victory. And a Biden administration is expected to decriminalize recreational marijuana and legalize medicinal marijuana at the federal level. And that will be very beneficial for the pot industry because we know that currently medical marijuana is legal in 33 states and the District of Columbia. And its recreational use is legal in 11 states and DC. But some more states are expected to legalize marijuana. It is on the ballot, this year's ballot. So that may happen starting next year. But despite legalization in these states, cannabis has remained illegal at the federal level in the US. So that has resulted in major challenges for US marijuana companies. For example, they cannot get access to mainstream banking services, they cannot transport cannabis between states, and they cannot deduct many costs, operational costs in their tax filings. So if there is a blue wave, and in fact, we are recording it on the election day. So hopefully we'll get results soon, within a day or two. So if there is a blue sea sweep, that is going to be a game changer for the cannabis industry. If there is a Biden administration, that is going to be beneficial. And even if President Trump is re-elected, but the Senate majority goes to Democrats, that may also help the industry because there are many, many bills in the works which are going to help the industry. Now, why ETFs? This is an industry which is evolving fast. It's a new industry. Most of the companies are new and small. So that is why their stocks have been very, very volatile. And so this is a kind of high risk, high reward potential industry. So that is why ETFs provide diversified exposure to this industry, and it makes more sense to use ETFs for exposure to this industry. In fact, if you look at the performance even of these ETFs and the stocks, it's been terrible. And there has been so much difference in the performance of various ETFs in this space. So that is why before you decide to invest in this industry using stocks and ETFs, it is better to do some research. There are a number of actively managed cannabis ETFs now, and these have done slightly better than index tracking ETFs. And I think that is mainly because the industry is continuously evolving. So YOLO, you live only once, easy to remember. Ticker YOLO, CNBS, TOK, another very interesting ticker. Those are actively managed. MSOS is a new ETF from Advisorships that's also actively managed. That's slightly different, and we'll discuss that. And then there are a number of index tracking ETF, the most popular ETF, MJ, and other ETFs like the one from Global X and THCX. Those are index tracking ETFs. There are a couple of ETNs too, but that's a whole different topic of discussion. So that is why I've not included those. Now, let's take a look at some of these ETFs, which have kind of different exposure, different flavors. So the first one we are talking about is the first and most popular cannabis ETF. So this was the first in the space. This actually changed its index from a lat and real estate to a cannabis ETF, and cannabis was very hot then, way back then. So that is why it was able to gather assets quickly. It now has 575 million in assets, has an expense ratio of 75 basis points. This is, people are more familiar with this ETF, but the performance has not been that great compared to other ETFs. So that is why it is important to take a look at this and compare the performance with other ETFs too. But there is no guarantee that the ones that are performing better will continue to do so in future as well. To learn more about this ETF, you can go to the code page on Zacks.com. I've done a couple of podcasts too on bot investing. You can listen to them. You can read our articles, research report on this ETF. Then using the link, you can go to the web page, ETFMG's web page for this ETF, and to look at the holdings and other details. And you must be familiar with this, with the top holdings if you have been tracking this industry: Canopy Growth, Kronos, Tilray, GW Pharma. These are the top holdings in this ETF. Now, the second one I wanted to highlight is by Advisorships. This launched just about 2 months back and has gathered about 35 million in assets so far. Now, this is the first US listed bot ETF that focuses exclusively on the US cannabis industry. And the US cannabis industry may benefit more from change in regulations here, because most of the other ETFs, they have a lot of exposure to Canadian companies, because pot has been legal in Canada for a few years now. So there are more Canadian companies than the US companies. So this holds US spot stocks. So these would be mostly small and mid-sized US companies, including multi-state operators, which are called MSOS. And this also provides exposure to those stocks through swaps. And this is actively managed, has an expense ratio of 74 basis points. Again, to learn more about this ETF, you can go to the code page on Zacks.com. From there, you can go to the external homepage. Advisorships has a couple of bot ETFs, including YOLO and MSOS. And they also have an ETF which provides exposure to pot, alcohol, and other vices, the ticker symbol. It's a vice ETF. You can take a look at YOLO and their other offerings too. Now, looking at MSOS, if you look at the holdings, you will see a number of swaps there and some small companies. As I mentioned, that this uses a lot of swap derivatives to provide exposure to US listed bot companies which are operating exclusively in the US cannabis industry. You will see a lot of exposure to mid cap and small cap companies. The third one which I wanted to highlight is by Cambria. It's Cambria Cannabis ETF. TOC is the ticker symbol. Very interesting. Easily wins the award for the best bot ETF ticker symbol. This is actively managed, and I included this because this has the lowest expense ratio, cheapest in this space, 42 basis points. It has been able to gather only 11 million in assets so far. So if you decide to buy this ETF, please trade carefully, use limit orders, because the bid-ask spread is likely to be high, and closer risk also remains high when the ETF is small. So those are the things you should remember. Again, you can take a look. You can go to the code page on Zacks.com, and from there you can go to the external homepage, Cambria's webpage for this ETF. It holds 20 to 50 companies operating in this space. Afria, GW Pharmaceuticals, Scott Miracle Growth, Constellation Brands. These are the top holdings in the ETF. And you can also look at the fact sheet for this one and other ones too. And you will see that healthcare, consumer staples, materials, real estate using REITs, which focus on cannabis. Those are the top sectors in the ETF. Now, on the last slide, I included the year-to-date performance, and you can see that this is all over the place. YOLO, which is by Advisorships, and I have not included MSOS because that is just 2 months old. So YOLO has kind of matched S&P 500's performance this year, around 4%, 5% return. Then you will see that the one by Cambria, Global X, and the one by ETFMG, they all have negative, significant negative returns. MJ is down about 42%. Sorry, the one by Global X is down about 42%. MJ is down about 32%. And the one by Cambria Talk is down about 21% this year. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our videos so that you do not miss anything. And I'll see you next week.